Namo Aditapha. Thank you for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The third mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by sexual misconduct, I vow to cultivate responsibility and learn ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, and society. I'm determined not to engage in sexual relations without love and a long-term commitment. To preserve the happiness of myself and others, I'm determined to respect my commitments and the commitments of others. I will do everything in my power to protect children from sexual abuse and to prevent couples and families from being broken by sexual misconduct. For our Dharma lessons, we've been reading Ajahn Munindo's book, Unexpected Freedom. We're beginning a chapter called What is Renunciation, with a verse from Dhammapada, number 92. Just like birds that leave no tracks in the air, there are those whose minds do not cling to temptations that are offered to them. Their focus is the signless state of liberation, which to others is indiscernible. Renunciation, nekkhamma in Pali, is one of what are known as the 10 paramitas, perfections or forces of goodness. Personally, I feel convinced that renunciation is one of the most important and, at the same time, least appreciated aspects of spiritual life. I'm not saying this to justify my life as a monk. You might expect me to say that renunciation is good, given that I've been doing it for 25 years. Rather, I, along with many others, choose to live this life because of the understanding that there is tremendous benefit in being able to give up that which is extra, to be able to let go of that which is not necessary, and to live a simple life. Now, I'm not merely talking about giving up outer physical things, like, for instance, eating in the evening. There's nothing moral or immoral about not eating in the evening. You go without a glass of milk in the evening, big deal. I don't even mean the more difficult areas like music and sex. These things that monks and nuns may give up are not in themselves the real point of renunciation. These outer gestures of renunciation are forms for encouraging an inner letting go. The gestures in themselves are functional, aiding the cultivation of strength of heart that sustains us on an inner journey. And surely all of us, not just monks and nuns, need this ability. It is true that the monastic community chooses to emphasize this aspect of the Buddha's teaching, even make a lifestyle out of it. But the training is relevant for everyone who is interested in inner freedom. Up until a few decades ago, the Roman Catholic Church used to require that her followers refrain from eating meat on Fridays. When the Pope lifted the prohibition, I thought it was rather a pity. Although the relevance of that particular form of abstinence was perhaps questionable, at least it encouraged, to some degree, a formal practice of giving up. I'm even old-fashioned enough to think that Lent is still a good idea. It is a time of year that provides the opportunity to say, okay, for this period of time, I'm going to put some energy into seeing how able I am to give things up. The reality is that if we don't know how to say no to our conditioned desires, we are easily conned by the outer world and by our inner drives. If you can't say no to yourself when you go into one of these supermarkets that have everything, you're likely to purchase more than you intend. Leafing through exciting catalogs or shopping on the web, you could be turning over your credit card details, acting out according to the drama of the marketplace, and only afterwards start thinking, what did I do that for? We're all familiar with something like this. The inability to say no to things that are extra. We can recognize this on the external level. We buy new clothes that we don't need, food we don't need, CDs that we might not ever listen to. But what is more difficult to see is how this pattern pertains to our inner world, to see the mental compulsion of perpetually adding on to experience, good, bad, right, wrong, should, shouldn't. This tendency to react, judge, and add on to our experience prevents us from being able to receive reality in a pure, undiluted form. The point of living a life where one renounces certain options is that by cultivating a conscious willingness to say no to things that we might otherwise want to have or do, things that are not really necessary to our well-being, we use outer conventions to learn how to let go at a deeper level. We learn the art of letting go. We call this process of learning a training because it takes some skill in applying effort. Unskilled effort in this area readily leads to blind and potentially damaging repression. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Namo Adidafa. Thanks so much for joining me today.